Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development announces cancellation of closed season for artisanal fishermen.
Also coming up tonight, Chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, calls for legal framework to deal with challenges in illegal mining.
Local business operators in Adaklu in the Volta region appeal to the Electricity Company of Ghana to address intermittent power outages in the area.
Later in business, finance expert Joe Jackson urges government contractors and suppliers to accept a repayment program that involves a 20% haircut on the 67.5 billion cedi owed them.
In international news this evening, more than 400 people killed by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. We have details of these and many more stories, including sports and entertainment, coming up over the next 1 hour.
Right, so let's dive right into it, and literally so, because we're starting with issues about the sea and fishing. The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Amelia Arthur, has announced the cancellation of the closed season for artisanal fishermen for the 2025 fishing season. Speaking to fisherfolk in Tema, she emphasized that while artisanal fishers are exempt, industrial trawlers will still observe the 2-month closed season.
Ghana's fisheries industry is estimated to provide direct and indirect employment to about 2 million people, with fish remaining a preferred source of protein for many. The closed fishing season was introduced by the previous administration as a management measure to allow fish stocks in Ghana's territorial waters to replenish. Scientists argue that the measure is crucial in curbing overfishing and addressing illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing practices, which have significantly contributed to the decline of fish species, especially small pelagics. The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Amelia Arthur, has announced the cancellation of the closed season for artisanal fishermen, but maintained that industrial trawlers must still observe the restriction. This move fulfills a campaign promise by President John Dramani Mahama to keep artisanal fishermen in business while strictly enforcing the long-standing tradition of not fishing on Tuesdays.
We are modifying the existing management measure known as closed season. So closed season for semi-industrial and industrial fishes will remain as is. But for this year, 2025, we are not going to have a closed season for artisanal fishers. And I mean the fishers with canoes supported by outboard motors. There won't be closed season for them for 2025.
To mitigate the impact on fish stocks, local scientists have been tasked with identifying and designating key areas in the Gulf of Guinea, including the buffer zone around Cape 3 Points, where fishing activities will be prohibited.
The other thing is that closed season is a management measure, and we are saying that our scientific world should explore closed area. We are told that along the Western Region Ocean, there are parts around Cape 3 Points where is a spawning ground for fish. So we are saying that they should just do their work, make sure that they identify the spawning grounds, and we have a closed area as part of our full implementation of marine protected areas.
Ni Odamite, the chief fisherman of Tema, shared his perspective.
It's a welcome agenda because we started a cruise season from 2019. By the brain behind the closure, we are not saying it. So if this year the government and the ministry said they are not going to close with the artisanal, we welcome it.
Meanwhile, Sector Minister Amelia Arthur is calling on premix fuel committees established under the previous administration to account for all proceeds intended for community development.
The thing is that when premix is sold and there's a profit, the profit, 47% of the profit goes to the landing beach communities. They use some for different things, but 53% of the profit is for community development. And for that one, we will ensure that MPs and DCEs ensure that the 53% is accounted for. In the same vein, all those who sold premix 8 years ago and have not accounted for the 53% profit for community, we will go after them to account for the money.
The significance of the fisheries industry cannot be underestimated, but the challenges of illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing practices threaten to erode gains made if enforcement of existing laws is relaxed. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Tema.
Right, since all of you consume fish, or at least almost all of you, that's a conversation that you need to be interested in. Let's walk you through some specifics in terms of how this closed fishing season started and where we are at the moment. So it started in 2016. The then NDC government under John Mahama introduced it, and the reason was to replenish fish stock in along our coasts to help local fisherfolk. Initially targeted only industrial trawlers, which is the big vessels that come in or use our sea areas for fishing. And in 2019, under the NPP government, they believed in the concept of the idea, and then they expanded it. So under Nana Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, it was extended to include artisanal fishers, which are persons who use canoes and semi-industrial trawlers or boats for fishing. The duration per the documentation was that it was to last 2 months, that is 60 days for the industrial trawlers or the big vessels, and then for people along the coast that use simple canoes and boats, they were to observe 1 month or 30 days of not going to sea, and the period was between typically July to September for both of them. So 3 months for the industrial trawlers and 1 month for the local fisher folk, usually between July and August. And again, it was aimed at allowing the fish to spawn and also to combat overfishing and illegal fishing practices. Now, the current NDC government, although they proposed it in 2016, they are back in power and have come with a revised document or policy. So they are now lifting the ban for artisanal inshore fishers. They are also ensuring a no Tuesday fishing, which is that every Tuesday there is going to be a ban on fishing. And that will mean 4 days in a month, totaling for a whole year. You're looking at 48 days. And it is also to offer protection for the fish to spawn. So if you compare the 48 days in a year to the 30 days in a year, they are of the considered opinion that 48 days is more than 30 days, although the 48 days is just individual Tuesdays in the whole year combined. And they continued the ban for industrial trawlers. So they have considered that local fisher folk should now be allowed to go ahead to do their fishing, as against the industrial trawlers or the bigger vessels. They are still to observe the 2-month ban of fishing. Let's try and get some further perspectives on this. We've been joined via Zoom by Kojo Che Yamwa, who is a convener of Fisheries Alliance, and he has a strong opinion on this. In fact, in the early days when this conversation started, they came up with a position and have been engaging stakeholders as to how effective this should be. Kojo, good evening and thank you for joining us on News 360.
Yes, good evening, my brother.
You, in your earlier submission, came from the scientific position where, based on research and your workings along many of our coastlines, say that, first of all, the 1 month was not even enough. But now the current administration is saying that we are not going to allow local fisher folk to observe that 1 month ban. What are your initial thoughts on this new policy guideline by government?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, this is not a new policy by the NDC government. You know, close season started in 2026 when NDC was in government, and they had a policy that the artisanal fishers were not going to be part of the closed season. So in 2026, when the first closed season was implemented, it was only for the industrial trawl, and the artisanal fishers were not part. We had the closed season happen earlier before the 2016 election. And now it seems that the NDC is revisiting its old policy of allowing only industrial trawlers to go fish to observe the closed season, whilst artisanal canoes go fishing. So looking at the historical trend analysis, this is not really a new policy by the NDC. This is something that they did in the past. The fact is that it did not yield the results that is expected, because the closed season is to allow the fish to spawn. So we are protecting, in quote, the gravid fish, the mother fish, who is in labor and must give birth in the spawning season. So scientifically, July, August, September is a major upwelling, or the major spawning season. And we have recommended that actually there shouldn't be any fishing for that period. We had also recommended strongly, when I was a member of the Scientific Technical Working Group, which proposed this closed season many years ago before we started in Ghana. We had added that closed season is very important, but it's also important that we put in place measures to address illegal fishing. Right. What it is that when fishers close, the season is closed for fishers, they do not go to sea. When it is open, we must not allow them to come in with all illegal gears, with all unsustainable fishing practices, with all nets as small as sponge that is used, or mosquito net, to catch baby and juvenile fish that we have gained through the closed season. And that had been one of the weaknesses of government in trying to enforce the law.
But sorry for butting in, but have you been able to quantify whether we have actually achieved anything since the introduction of the closed season? It started in 2016, we are in 2025. Can we scientifically say that the closed seasons actually achieved the aim for which it was even introduced?
Yes, there are some reports from the Fisheries Commission. You know, the closed season, we have had about 7 years of closed season if we add the 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, because of COVID, there was no closed season, 2021, 2022, 2023. That means that artisanal fishers have been involved in closed season for about 4 years, whilst industrial trawl have been involved in closed season for about 7 years. There is some data available, but what I will say is that the data is not adequate, because we do not have a research vessel, and the data is based on fish landings. And if you have fish landings as your source of data, it is not 100% accurate. What it means is that you are checking the biomass, you are checking how much fish is extrapolated to be in the sea from what has been caught and brought on land. So that is not actually very, very effective. That is why there's the need for a research vessel, or there's a need to conduct some, studies on sea to trawl along, or to, check how much fish is in the sea. But what I was saying is that the closed season purpose is to conserve the small pelagic fish. And the small pelagic fish, for us, the round and the flat sardinella, what we know, eban. And the eban is the purpose fish. It is the fish that feeds the multitude of Ghanaians.
Right.
And that fish stock is close to collapse. So the spawning period for eban is between the July, August, September. And that is why it is very important for the closed season to be done. But it's also important that the fisheries laws are enforced, so that when the season is open, the gains made is sustained. In the past, we have realized that 2 to 3 months after the closed season, the fishers go out there and they fish almost all the fish that has been gained from the closed season, because there is no quota. Everybody goes and you are catching whatever you need to catch. Nobody is controlling how much volume of fish each canoe can harvest. And also, they are using all the illegal fishing.
It looks like we would have to dedicate a bit more time so we can get further understanding of the scientific angle vis-a-vis the policy angle from government on what we all consume, which is fish. But we'd have to leave it here for now. Thank you so much for your time, as always. And for all of you fish consumers, let us know what you make of this new directive in the comment section.
Meanwhile, Norway's Minister for International Development, Asmund Grover Aukrust, has reaffirmed Norway's commitment to supporting stakeholders in Ghana's local fisheries sector through the country's Fish for Development program. Another report by Stanley Nibleo.
Norway's Minister for International Development, accompanied by the Norwegian ambassador to Ghana, and Ghana's Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, visited the Tema Newtown Canoe Harbour to engage with indigenous fisherfolk following the implementation of the Fish for Development program. The initiative aims to strengthen the Fisheries Commission's capacity to effectively manage and regulate both marine fisheries and the aquaculture industry through science-based sustainable management practices. The Norwegian minister emphasized the need for a collective effort to protect the ocean.
We have also built our nation up on the strong fishery industry for many hundred years. That's our most important renewable resource, but if we should keep it our renewable resource, we need to protect our ocean. So then we need to work together to protect the ocean, because the ocean is threatened by pollution, by illegal fishery, by climate changes, by overfish. So therefore it's very important to have international cooperation like we do between Norway and Ghana.
Ghana's Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Emilia Atta, called for the adoption of best practices to ensure long-term sustainability of the fisheries sector. Country representative for the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, highlighted the importance of integrating fish as a key component of the National School Feeding Program.
FAO is committed to supporting Ghana in the areas of nutrition and food security, and our current support includes the socialization of the Ghana food-based dietary guidelines, food safety, and inclusion of fish in the Ghana school feeding program for better nutrition.
The delegation later taught Norwegian businesses operating in Ghana to assess their impact on the country's economy.
The attraction has really been, finding a partner who has a plan, who is credible, but also putting, Norwegian taxpayers' money to work and create jobs, gender equality, help the climate, health and safety, and just sort of lead by example in the sector. It's something that we are very excited about. We want to do more of this type of work here in Ghana, and we think that the time has come.
Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Tema.
Away from fishing, Ghana is set to amend its traffic and transport laws to legalize commercial motorcycle operations, popularly known as okada, as part of efforts to create jobs and improve urban mobility. The Minister for Transport, while inaugurating a 13-member committee to review road traffic regulations 2012 LI 2180, emphasized the need to balance safety, job creation, and economic growth. Deborah Abamensa reports.
The use of motorcycles for commercial transportation has been a controversial issue in Ghana. Section 128 of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012 LI 2180 explicitly prohibits the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial purposes. However, despite the ban, okada operations have flourished across the country, especially in urban areas where they serve as a fast and convenient mode of transport. The debate over its legality gained national attention ahead of the 2020 elections, when the NDC made it a key campaign promise to create jobs and improve livelihoods. However, concerns over road safety, reckless driving and high accident rates have made successive governments hesitant to lift the ban. During the recent State of the Nation's address, President John Dramani Mahama signaled the government's intention to introduce a structured approach to regulate the sector. The formation of this committee marks a significant step towards that goal.
We made a promise that we're going to amend the law that prohibits the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial purposes. So that is the portion of the law we are going to look at, to review it and allow the use of motorcycles and tricycles to be able to operate as a fee-paying service in the transport industry. And we will amend our laws to suit the Ghanaian conditions. So it might not be exactly what is happening in Rwanda, but it will be a true reflection of what Ghanaians want.
Some okada riders have expressed optimism about the government's decision to review the ban. They believe that legalization will provide them with more security and legitimacy in their work.
You have to get license and roadworthy, and so when he legalizes it for us, it will help us financially and it will protect us from that attacking from the police and stuff. And so I think when he legalizes it will.
Many of them which do not have the licenses, roadworks, and insurance. Sometimes when the police arrest you, they have to ask you all those things. But if the government can come inside and help with those who have been doing the car business, it shall be good.
The committee's review is expected to shape the future of okada operations in Ghana, with recommendations that could influence transport policy and urban mobility across the country.
Now, cybersecurity expert Dr. Edward Danso Ansong has called for training for the handlers of President John Mahama's social media accounts. The call comes after the president's Twitter account was hacked and perpetrators posted a dodgy cryptocurrency advert. The account has been recovered. That's according to information from the presidency.
Last Sunday, President John Mahama's X account was compromised by unknown persons promoting the cryptocurrency Solana Africa. The post falsely claimed to be an initiative led by the president to facilitate free cross-border payments across Africa using the Solana blockchain. Many X users were left bemused, especially when no such policy had been discussed. The Cybersecurity Authority says it is investigating circumstances under which the personal account of the president was taken over by unknown persons. Cybersecurity expert and a lecturer at the Department of Computer Science, University of Ghana, Dr. Edward Danso Ansong, has described the act as embarrassing. He has urged the Cybersecurity Authority to identify the device which was used to hack the president's official X accounts to prevent a similar situation in the future.
With the CSA coming into it and then trying to carry out investigation and all of that, we need to know the device on which that particular, attack was launched. It could either be a remote connection or maybe some other link that was shared that compromised that particular handheld device, and as a result of that has to be quarantined. I know that the CSA has the officers to be able to carry out very stringent, investigations to be able to unravel how these, the modus operandi of these hackers that actually, did this. Because it is quite embarrassing to the nation, and it's very, very serious thing to actually deal with.
Dr. Danso Ansong also proposes rigorous cybersecurity training for the handlers of the president's social media accounts.
Handlers of the president's social media accounts also have to go through certain level of training, and I know that the CSA will actually do a good job by taking them through these multi-factor authentication measures and protocols and procedures and so on and so forth, in order to ensure that such thing never happens again.
Meanwhile, the account has since been retrieved after over 24 hours in the hands of these hackers.
The Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Murtala Mohammed, could not lay the LI 2462 expected to prevent mining in forest reserves. The first Deputy Speaker, after listening to concerns raised on the floor of the House, advised for a pre-lay consideration before it could be laid in the House.
LI 2462, enacted in 2022, is a regulation that allows mining activities in forest reserves, which was previously considered illegal. The regulation has faced criticism for potentially exacerbating environmental damage and undermining Ghana's commitment to protecting its forests and biodiversity. The Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Murtala Mohammed, who was in the house, could not lay it due to some disagreements and subsequent advice from the first Deputy Speaker.
We are clear about the matter, that the President doesn't want the power. He wants it taken away. He doesn't want any money in forest reserves. And he doesn't want the law to stay any additional day beyond where it is now. So, Mr. Speaker, let us lay it. If the committee meets and then the committee thinks that there should be a revision, they can come here. But I'm assuring you that this side of the House is clear on the matter. I will not vote for any motion, any attempt to change anything in the regulations that are being laid. The pre-laying is necessary. It's necessary for us to be able to have a thorough, in-depth interrogation and discussion as to how this can be formulated and presented in a manner which will truly, if that is what we want to achieve, will truly oust the discretion of the President in granting right for mining to take place in forest.
The President is responding to a national emergency of a crisis in Galamsey, and he is determined to say that take off my authority and mandate as President. I think that is proper that the Minister lays it. Then we count the mandatory 21 days, after which effectively it becomes law.
By a lot of Supreme Court authorities, once the document is laid, you can dot I or cross T unless you have two-thirds majority in line with Article 11.7 to annul it. I will want to direct and urge upon the Subsidiary Legislation Committee to, as a matter of urgency, conduct a pre-laying within 3 days.
Chairman of the Constitutional says that the National Mining Committee commenced stakeholder engagement with academics in the area of lands and natural resources.
The Constitution Review Committee commenced work with the Lands and Natural Resources Cluster, with Chairman Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh advocating for legal reforms to tackle key challenges, including illegal mining.
There is some logic to it, but I think it's also important that we start here, a resource-rich country, and when we talk about development, that's really what provides oftentimes the base in terms of revenue capacity as a country. Natural resources are also very topical these days in the news around Galamsey and other issues.
Speaking of the engagement, land law expert Professor Kwame Jan highlighted that chieftaincy conflicts in northern Ghana are largely rooted in unresolved land disputes, a gap he believes the Constitution must address.
Article 2573 automatically divested all the northern lands without further assurance. And there are still pockets of problems associated with the divesting of the northern lands. So you plunged the lands back into chaos, and the aftermath is still there. Some of the confusion up north, which we clothed as chieftaincy problems, are not chieftaincy problems. They are land problems dressed as chieftaincy problems, because the chieftaincy denominator is the easiest one.
He warned that similar conflicts could emerge in other parts of the country if these issues remain unaddressed.
We should look at this whole regime again. Otherwise, we have other vested lands which have not been divested. The lands within 1 mile radius of the Winneba roundabout, the lands which is creating the problems between the Golden Stool and the Bonus, so Sunyani, Mem, Goso, Nkoko, Koforidua, all these are vested lands.
And now to one of our headliners. Local business operators in Adaklu in the Volta region are appealing to the Electricity Company of Ghana to address the intermittent power outages in the area. The situation, which has become widespread across the Volta region, is negatively impacting business operations, according to residents. There's more in the following report.
Outages has become more rampant in recent weeks across the most parts of the Volta region, particularly at night. In the Adaklu district, for instance, local business owners who depend solely on electricity lament the power crisis is impacting their businesses.
I have a small cool store. The way the light is going off this time is disturbing my business, especially yesterday. The light went off around 6 o'clock and it came back this morning around 7:30. It disturbed the fridge because when it went off and came back, I could realize that the fridge went off and thank God that I off it earlier. Other than that, the fridge will also spoil. And my meat, if you can see it, there is scent in it because of the light off.
The on and off disturbs my business, especially the corn mill operation and the pure water business, because we depend solely on the electricity. So when it goes off like that, we don't work at all. And it also destroys our gadgets, especially my fridge. It destroys it when it goes off and comes on like that. So it destroyed one of them, and I spent a lot of money before I was able to repair it.
The light there, they disturb us because the container that you can see use like 2 days to finish. But now on and off can make like 4 days to 5 days before you finish one container. And it's disturbing us, so the ECG should make something about it.
And our news just in indicates that a United States court has awarded investigative journalist Anas Arimiawa $18 million in his defamation suit against former Asin Central MP Kennedy Ejepong. Following the Supreme Court's ruling dismissing the defamation suit against Kennedy Ejepong, Anas filed another suit, this time in the Essex County Superior Court in the United States of America. His defamation suit, however, was based on comments made by the former MP during an interview on an Accra-based radio station. According to court documents, Anas complained that Kennedy Ejepong referred to him as a criminal, a thief, behind the murder of investigative journalist Ahmed Swale, and that Anas was responsible for the death of multiple Chinese nationals in Ghana, which he, Kennedy Ejepong, claimed to have already proven in court with video evidence. There's more on our website, 3news.com.
Still watching News 360. Stay with us. When we return, we have the latest in the world of business for you.
I love President Charcoal. Why?
repayment program that involves a 20% haircut on the 67.5 billion cedis owed to contractors by the government. This massive debt, which represents 5.2% of Ghana's GDP as of December 2024, has prompted calls for a repayment plan to clear the backlog.
The breakdown of the arrears to contractors includes 49.2 billion cedis in outstanding interim payment invoices and 18.3 billion cedis in bank transfers. The road sector alone accounts for 21 billion cedis of the total arrears of 67.5 billion cedis.
After the verification exercise, after the audit exercise, those that are proven to have passed the exercise take a 20% haircut. If the government owes you 10 million, cut it down to 8 million. And even that 8 million, it cannot pay all in cash. Take 40%, 4 million, in a medium to long-term bond. And then just maybe we'll be able to arrange to pay you 40% of the amount in cash. Then we can start to clear these arrears.
But the challenge is many contractors have taken loans from banks to finance their projects.
They're already in NPLs. I think that what makes sense is that they've typically been provided for, but they are in NPL. This allows the institutions to claw back some of the money. And actually, this could help reduce the NPLs. Because if they are huge and we don't pay, nothing happens. So this arrangement may actually end up benefiting some of the financial institutions who have advanced amounts that have not been paid and have been put into non-performing loans, what we call in the industry NPL.
Meanwhile, Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School, Godfrey Bokpin, is urging the government to enact legislation enabling private sector partnerships to deliver critical economic infrastructure. He notes that the move will help government reduce borrowing to finance budget deficits.
Professor Bokpin stresses that compensations, interest payments, and other expenditures take more than 97% of Ghana's 2025 projected total non-oil revenue of about 180 billion cedis, leaving no fiscal space for critical infrastructure financing. He made the call at the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry's 2025 National Budget Review.
If you look at Tier 2 and you look at the upper middle income class in Ghana, they are all trying to invest outside. Meanwhile, we have a huge infrastructure deficit here. So the whole thing is, how do we come out with the necessary legislative framework and enabling environment that allows private capital to feel comfortable to partner the public sector to deliver critical infrastructure?
Chief Executive of the GNCCI, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, in an interview, says industry players will closely monitor the budget's implementation, ensuring key policies are executed effectively.
We were set up to promote and protect commercial and industrial interests. You know, budget is just an intention, just a statement. The benefit of it is how we are able to implement it and translate it into a tangible benefit for Ghanaians. So we are going to monitor, keenly monitor the implementation. And when we see deviations from the target, obviously we will bring government on track.
The GNCCI National Dialogue Series was themed 2025 National Budget Discourse, Implication for the Private Sector.
Techno has officially launched its latest flagship series, the Techno Camon 40 series. This highly anticipated launch promises to revolutionize the smartphone experience.
Techno's Camon 40 series is set to disrupt the smartphone market with its exceptional features, sleek design and affordable price point. With this launch, Techno is poised to further solidify its position as a leading smartphone brand in Africa and beyond. The phone's AI-enhanced camera capabilities, long-lasting battery, and water-resistant features were highlighted. National Retail Manager Daniel Opoku mentioned that Techno has its customers at the core of their business.
The main problem was with the blurriness, taking pictures in motion, the blurriness. Sometimes you're taking a picture of somebody and then while the person is moving, it becomes blurred. So the all-new Techno Camon 40 gives you a nice picture in motion. In Techno Camon 40 will help you to take a clearer picture when you are in motion. It means that motion, jumping, playing football, running, taking a picture in trotro, like trotro, you won't take a picture of somebody in trotro in motion. Camon 40 with a flash snap will give you the clear picture. Charlie, if you have Techno Camon 40, you would not have to think about your phone getting spoiled in water.
The regional retail manager, Nathaniel Nisai Anan, added that the phone is a must-have for all customers.
Techno, we are doing something great. Right now, we have the Camon 40, which is transforming camera and imaging. We have the AI flash snap, and then we have the AI features that is transforming. With just a one tap, in just a second, you can get the best picture in motion.
And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obudu. Up next, the sports.
Ghana City Banknote contains security features that is used to authenticate the note and verify
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. In Ghana's quest to secure a spot at the 2026 World Cup, Otuado has expressed optimism about Ghana's chances of making it to the world's most prestigious tournament. In an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, the 49-year-old admitted his side have learned their lessons from the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers.
It's a different situation, because we are in the table, we are on top with Comoros, so it's much more comfortable situation, and also for the players. Yeah, surely I hope that we learned our lessons. The boys are positive. We have to start new, fresh, positive. It's a big chance for us, this situation, to continue to stay on top, and yeah, we'll do everything to win.
Well, the head coach further emphasized the need for the team to work together as a unit in order to achieve their goals.
Yeah, I think it's like everything. We win together, we lose together, and there are so many big topics. So I think key is to work as a team together. You know, however we had some good games, we had also very bad games, and one key aspect is, like, I think it's more mentally and psychological to think positive, to surely be more precise in using our chances, but also defensively as a team, to work together to prevent our opponent from having chances.
Let's do some more stories where the Director General of the National Sports Authority, Yao Ampofo-Ankra, has reiterated the importance of having quality playing surfaces for the national teams. This, according to the newly appointed Director General, will reduce injuries at the camp and also prevent players from refraining themselves from national assignments.
I'm sure there are several factors that may account for players allegedly boycotting matches. You know, it's a whole discussion. We need to find out what those issues are, and if one of those issues is a poor surface, which they may attract injuries and go back worse, which would affect their career, you know, their careers, then we need to look at that. It's a whole conversation. The focus now is to beat Chad and prepare for Madagascar to get 6 points. That is in the domain of Coach Otuado, his technical team, but he needs support from all other facets, otherwise he will not be able to perform. So what we can do is to ensure that the players have good playing surfaces, and to ensure that it is not just for the Black Stars at the Accra Sports Stadium, but it becomes something that is a norm for all national teams, for all clubs.
Well, you can get some more updates as we build up to the big one between the Black Stars and Chad on Friday at the Accra Sports Stadium. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360.
For its 2025 edition, the Telecel Ghana Music Awards introduced an exciting new category, Best Urban Contemporary Gospel. This category is designed to celebrate artists who blend gospel music with popular urban genres like dancehall, Afrobeat, and hip-hop. Artists like Preachers, King's Kid, Kobe Sam, and Evan Scott have quickly gained recognition for their unique sound.
The TGMA board's move to introduce this category has been overwhelmingly embraced by musicians within the urban gospel community. These artists are not just releasing music, they are creating powerful tracks and following them up with strong promotions while headlining major events across the country. If you know for your favor, industry stakeholders, as well as gospel music enthusiasts, are optimistic that this new addition will give emerging talent within the urban gospel scene a much-needed platform to shine.
You will be encouraged to be able to lift yourself up through performance and what have you. At the same time, too, if you are in the urban, you know that whatever you do and the role you play with your music, you are going to be recognized. And for me, this is one of the best for the year 2024-25. It's something that we need to commend the board.
The board considered that, look, we should also give premium and other advantages to the young guys. So I think in terms of creating this category, I'm for it. It's very nice. It will open the way for other people to also enjoy their crafts, and they may be able to expose themselves in the area of the contemporary gospel music.
Some urban gospel artists share their excitement about this new category and its potential for the growth of the genre.
The victory we are celebrating. I think this has been the fight of faith that we've been fighting from day one, and this is an agenda of God. This goes beyond us. This is how God wants to shape this generation through music, and we are glad to be part. We are glad that we have allowed God to use us to set the foundations.
It's going to bring a lot of exposure to the genre. In particular, I'm saying a lot of urban gospel artists have been underground for a long time, and I feel like with this new category, a lot of people are going to be noticing what urban gospel is doing and contributing to the whole gospel fraternity as a whole. It's a very big plus for the urban gospel community.
With this new recognition, the future of urban gospel music looks bright as more artists find their voice and take their place in the spotlight.
Time now for international news.
More than 400 people have been killed by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The Israeli military says it is hitting terror targets across Gaza after talks to extend the ceasefire failed. It's the biggest wave of strikes since January 19, when the ceasefire began. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says Israel will act against Hamas with increasing military strength, accusing Hamas of repeated refusal to release hostages and of rejecting proposals to extend the ceasefire. Hamas accuses Israel of attacking defenseless civilians and says mediators should hold Israel fully responsible for violating and overturning the ceasefire. Israel says 59 hostages are still being held in Gaza, with up to 24 believed to be alive. A group representing hostage families accuses the Israeli government of choosing to give up the hostages by launching new strikes. A curfew has been imposed in parts of a city in India's western states of Maharashtra after Hindu groups demanded the removal of the tomb of Aurangzeb, a 17th century Mughal emperor, sparking violence on Monday night. Vehicles were set on fire and stones were thrown in the Mahal area of Nagpur city. Police say the situation is under control and are appealing to people to keep the peace. The tomb of Aurangzeb, who died more than 300 years ago, has in recent years become a political flashpoint amid growing calls for its removal by hardline Hindu groups. According to reports, Monday's violence broke out after two Hindu organizations burnt the emperor's effigy and chanted slogans demanding the removal of his tomb. More than 50 people have been detained and 33 police officers were injured in the incident.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu Dartey.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Do have a good evening.